There's been so much of dialogue over the last couple of years, but particularly over the last few months with regards to AI. I mean, at work, it's a constant discussion, particularly when we are pushing for AI adoption, as a competitive edge. But whilst seeing the dark side, where many roles and consequently livelihoods are lost, coupled with the regulatory changes we're seeing because of the current geopolitical landscape, even jobs that I thought would be safe are being impacted by AI. At first, it made me question what this meant for my own career, having experienced a lot of these challenges recently. But now even wondering, how can we stop worrying and start living with AI? And I don't know. Nobody knows. However, I do have an opinion, which I will share with you today. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Lakan and I am passionate about us living our best lives today and an even better life tomorrow. First, I actually want to spend some time unpacking these two questions. What causes us to worry, and what does living actually mean? Primitively, worry is a feature of our nervous system for threat detection, scanning for danger and relaxing when things are safe. This is great when you make a mistake and need to fix it quickly before somebody finds out, but not when the threats are ambiguous, like the impacts of AI. Then there's what I believe is the biggest cause of our worry: our intolerance to uncertainty. When outcomes are unclear, our minds start filling these gaps with stories, usually the most dramatic ones. It feels like control and thinking ahead, but it's just us mentally spiraling until something happens which gives us clarity. In my experience, people also have a pessimistic bias, which they mistake for being realistic, which is also not possible and a topic I'll unpack in a future video. This pessimistic bias puts a spotlight on risks and draws us into negative thinking, often resulting in a misinterpretation of the situation. When we put these mechanisms together, we can see how easy it is for us to become worried and why we shouldn't leave it unchecked. Next, many of us mistake existing for living. Existing is being biologically alive, but psychologically and spiritually dead, like being unconscious. Some of us are like zombies, where we live without any passion or purpose, just going through the motions. Others become robots, where we follow the rigid map of success we were handed, ticking the boxes, meeting society's expectations of success, but never truly living the life you desire, just existing in one you were convinced to be grateful for. Living, in contrast, is a state of us being authentically engaged with our lives, being conscious. I can say it's the practical application of our purpose. When we are truly living, we are awake to what we are doing and whilst we are doing it. Our decisions line up with our principles and values, not other superficial influences. Think about it. You can exist with money, or you can live with it. Existing looks like this, where you earn more money, optimize your investments, and accumulate wealth. You are tantalized by the number in your bank account. Whereas living is intentionally using money to serve experiences and responsibilities you genuinely care about. You feel rich, fulfilled, and happy because of the impact you create. Before we get into how we can stop worrying and start living with AI, I want to explore why it's important for us to do so. First, because worrying about an inevitable shift is just passive existing. We can try to resist or ignore the change, but it won't slow anything down. It will only slow us down. Historically, we've seen this. Each industrial revolution improved convenience, productivity, and access to resources, but also disrupted what we deemed were traditional livelihoods during these periods. For example, the third industrial revolution basically plugged us into the digital world. Life got faster and way more connected, but that also meant that many people were struggling to keep up. This is no different to what we're experiencing with Industry 4.0, just with maybe more security threats. Worry will keep us stuck. Others will move and we will get left behind. Second, whether you like it or not, AI is the engine of the next phase of progress. Like electricity in the second industrial revolution or internet in the third. Phases like these always arrive with loss and disruption, but also bring new opportunity and growth. AI in particular is viewed as a double-edged sword to solving our most complex problems. Optimists like myself see AI as our best shot at tackling complex problems, such as climate change, incurable diseases, and socio-economic instability. But those with a pessimistic view, whose concerns are valid and likely to occur, warn that these same capabilities can exacerbate these very problems, like worsening emissions, enabling bioweapons and synthetic diseases, and even triggering financial chaos. Although easier said than done, this is why we cannot afford to be spectators. We need to shape how AI is used and not react to what it becomes. Third, because AI is currently doing a lot of the manual, repetitive, and linear work. This means that we will, not necessarily have more free time, but more time to focus on more creative pursuits and live more authentically. And not just in the traditional artsy sense, but in a next-gen type of way. Our value will shift from what we know and how sharp our memory is, to our ability to think creatively and laterally. And more importantly, our personality, presence, and vibes that people can just resonate with. It is important to remember that our current perceptions are limited by our paradigms. As we think more creatively, I really do believe that we'll find new opportunities, whilst setting even bigger ambitions and visions, ones that we can't currently imagine. Now, here's my opinion on how we can stop worrying and start living with AI. Use AI on a daily basis to do the mundane, repetitive, boring stuff so that we can focus on what really matters. Let AI tackle the grunt work of existing so that we can focus on truly living. Not just at work, but for every day-to-day tasks. For example, I've been using AI for over a year to plan my weekly meals, provide me with a shopping list that I can use with the online store I get my groceries delivered from, and even figure out how to use leftovers so they don't go to waste. I also use AI as an intellectual sparring partner when I need to solve problems that require lateral thinking. Next, and previously mentioned, don't worry and get stuck. Upskill and keep up to date with the trends, especially in your field. This will allow us to take a more proactive approach and evolve with AI, instead of becoming reactive when the gap starts to widen. I'm doing this now by keeping an eye on which management consulting roles are at risk, whilst also checking for new opportunities where I specialize. Lastly, use AI as an informal coach, but keep in mind that AI has some narcissistic tendencies that can flatter your ego. So it's important to prompt and interpret your AI in an unbiased way. We can use it to develop tailored plans to achieve certain goals. For example, I recently used ChatGPT as a running coach, and I couldn't be more impressed. Yes, I had to put in the work, but within 3 weeks, I was able to go from barely surviving a 2.5 kilometer run to comfortably running 16 Ks and actually completing the first 10 Ks of the race within an hour. This was also me running again after over a decade of being sedentary and desk bound. And actually, one more thing, when we think about how can we create value in the future, focus on areas where AI is less likely to be disruptive, even if it's not full-time and just a side hustle for you. Think about what problems you can solve that our world faces that AI can't yet solve. So if there's one thing to remember, it's this. Worrying is passive existing that can cause you to freeze and fall behind. Living is a choice guided by our purpose and vision. We can't really control this phase, the Industry 4.0, but we can control how we evolve with it and seize new opportunities, and in doing so live a more rich, fulfilled and happy life, and possibly even a more human life. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe and share it with someone who you want to evolve with. And let's assume that the worst case scenario happens where AI becomes the apex species and takes us out. I much rather live the rest of my life optimistically, embracing new possibility, instead of being frozen with fear. Because at the end, we all depart to the same destination. As Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park said, life finds a way, and so will we.